Exciting times. All right, welcome to one more episode of the OpenTofu office hours. This is a particularly exciting one. We are D-1 for OpenTofu general availability. We're all so excited to actually make the release and put something production ready in everyone's hands. And here to talk about all of this is a bunch of really smart folks that have been working on making the release happen. So Kuba, do you want to introduce yourself? And then we'll go around.
Hey, Kuba. I'm the interim tech lead of the OpenTofu project. Nice to meet you.
James.
Hi, I am a core contributor. I think that's what title we're using nowadays. I don't know.
Yeah. Christian?
Hi, I'm Christian. I'm a core team member, sponsored by Spacelift, and yeah, very happy to be working on this.
And I'm Sebastian, just some random guy that's trying to put all of this together in some way. But obviously a huge fan of OpenTofu and core community member. So with all of this, let's begin the office hours. So it's been a wild journey. We covered that a little bit last time as well in the December episode. But it's kind of crazy to think that 4 months ago we all banded together, put out a manifesto, announced the project, announced it joining the Linux Foundation. We got tens of thousands of stars on GitHub. Huge amount of community, released an alpha, released a beta, just a couple of weeks ago, the release candidates, and we are 1 day away now from, oh, I forgot to update that slide, sorry, it's not December 10, it's January 10. And we're just 1 day away from general availability. And so we're going to talk a little bit about what's new and what's exciting and what to look forward to. So Kuba, do you think you could talk a little bit about what we've done to date in 1.6 and kind of some of the challenges and what to look forward to?
Sure, of course. So tomorrow as well, the big banner saying the general availability, the stable release is coming out, which means that you can actually start using OpenTofu properly, migrating to it, in production, etc. And that's by far the biggest milestone that's being hit tomorrow. Sorry. There is a very nice migration guide on our website that you can take a look at to see in practice. There's no special steps you need to take. You just start using Tofu and it basically works. In practice, this is the 1.6 version of OpenTofu to keep in line with the versioning of Terraform. And it does include the new module testing feature. It does include an updated S3 backend. Importantly, this updated S3 backend works well both with S3 and S3 compatible object storages. And there's a bunch of improvements, bug fixes, performance improvements, etc. Now, a very big part of the groundwork that needed to be laid over the last few months, which is actually why this took a while for us and is work that we won't have to repeat again, was creating the registry. So the registry that hosts providers and modules is something that we've needed to build from scratch. And we needed to build it in a way where all your providers, all the modules you're using are still available. We first started with an MVP version for one of the first alpha releases, and then we went through a community process of RFCs to actually settle on a design for the proper registry, which we have been building for 1 or 2 months until we finally, and actually finishing the design of including, and finally that was ready for the release candidate that was out in December. and it's working very well so far. The final design we settled for the registry is basically based on static storage. We're hosting it on Cloudflare on an R2 bucket. This is very highly available. This is very cheap. It's snappy. It works really well. The design is simple and it's very homebrew-like, and that the whole catalog of modules and providers is on GitHub, and adding your provider module is just a pull request away.
And we have some folks from Homebrew, right, that chimed in and kind of helped us share some of their experience and their experience. So and it's just a great case of kind of open source community coming together and helping each other out. I do want to reiterate that OpenTofu, like the providers for Terraform, work with OpenTofu, and there's no such thing as a provider for one or the other. There's just the providers that work for both. And so when talking about the registry, that's wanted to clarify that point. OpenTofu continues to be one of the fastest growing communities on GitHub and online. We're really hoping that with the GA release that now folks can finally get their hands on it and use it and start migrating. I think there's been, as of yesterday, I think there was like 67 unique developers that have committed or contributed some code to the project, which is just amazing. Yeah, just really amazing. So with that said, what are some of the things that folks should be on the lookout for as they start to migrate? Let's just start with the why migrating.
Oh, the main reason to migrate is that OpenTofu is the open source tool. It's the tool you can easily extend, you can easily fork, you can easily contribute to, and you can easily build your ecosystem around. So as with any such core open source infrastructure, this allows others, other communities, other projects, other companies to build around it. And we hope that will continue with OpenTofu, and we hope this open development will also obviously lead to and yield great features in the long term. We already have an example of that with the state encryption. So this is really the reasoning. Now, on the important things to take to keep in mind. So as I said, in the introduction documentation on the website, you can find the migration guide that is very recommended to take a look at, to follow. I suppose the most important step you should be doing is to back up your state file. That is something you should do. Run tofu pull or Terraform pull, fetch the current state file, make sure you back it up. We don't expect anything to break, and we haven't had anything break in our testing, but since your state file is important and you're making such a change, it's really important to make a backup of it. Other than that, you'll actually just be running tofu init, tofu plan, tofu apply, and everything should be working automatically. Everything on the OpenTofu site is built so that the migration happens completely automatically. The state file update happens on the first apply that you make, and there's no additional steps that you need to take.
And of course, if anything does break, let us know immediately so we could figure out what happened and fix that, because we care very much about the migration experience. I think we gave, like, there's two real reasons, like two examples of why open source communities tend to win. One being the example with the homebrew suggestion that led to the architecture that we decided on for the registry. There's the client-side state encryption as well. Kuba, can you give some other examples of great ideas that we've seen from the community and kind of explain, like, provide examples like that of what to expect?
Sure. So, well, the first one, as I've mentioned previously, client-side state encryption, that is an RFC that was led from the beginning by a community member, is now being developed in collaboration with a community member. But there's a lot of other enhancements and bug fixes proposed by the community. For example, one issue that was reported by the community that now Christian is working on is parameterizing module sources and versions. Maybe Christian can tell us more about that.
Yeah, Christian.
Sure. One of the issues I've personally run into with back in the days when I did Terraform in a more corporate environment before switching to work on OpenTofu is that a lot of the time you have a lot of configuration that means that you tend to copy paste a lot. And that bothers a lot of developers. It bothers a lot of people who work on this full time. And there's been lots of community proposals over the years, lots of chatter on GitHub about what could we do here, what are some workarounds. There's certain things like Terraform override files, which I honestly hadn't looked at up until a week or so ago. But there's lots of odd workarounds and hacks people have been using over the years. But at the end of the day, it's a feature that we should really have. And it's also opening up, assuming the RFC is accepted, it's opening up the ability to do interpolation of different things that are known statically at init time throughout the code base. For example, one of the things Kuba's been looking forward to is trying to make the for each blocks or counts a little bit more dynamic. So there's some fun work going on there, and I'm looking forward to see what the community does with it.
Yeah, and we can look. I'm really excited about like seeing some of the suggestions and the good ideas from people all around the world, and I do think OpenTofu by virtue of being developed in the open and being truly open source has that kind of velocity advantage. Kuba, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to add those are the big ones and big improvements that we've also accepted. But there's a lot of other improvements that were proposed. There were small improvements that were proposed and accepted. There were functions added. There were performance improvements merged. So there's already a bunch of changes. This is actually interesting because we started with the open source project a while ago, and we had to be very conservative with merging things and accepting contributions because we were focusing on making the stable release happen. And we wanted the stable release to not include anything above what was already there and the core features we wanted to add, because we wanted to guarantee a stable experience for the first stable release. So there was a lot of proposals that were in a sense accepted but were blocked until we could get the stable release out. We could branch off a version branch and actually start merging those, and this is something that recently started. So I think this was also it's important to note that basically this contribution amount was very large at the beginning, but we had to take a break with that a bit and only started actually accepting those very recently. And we hope that contributions that a lot of contributors will now resume, since we now have the stable release. We're very much open for contributions now.
Yeah, which means that 1.7 is going to be all the more exciting to look forward to. What are since we have so many core contributors here on the office hours, what are some of the guiding principles or heuristics by which we evaluate the different RFCs and we decide on what's in 1.7 versus later?
So I think, first of all, there's things that we planned with the technical steering committee also, based on what we've seen. So, there's a lot of these discussions on the internet. Hey, what would you add to Terraform if you could add something? And there's some very repeating tropes on there that are always upvoted to the topmost comments. So those are things that we looked at right away, and we chose some to tackle very initially, and we'll definitely be getting inspired by that. But generally, the main heuristic is we're trying to think about things that will be useful widely for the community. So we don't want to make changes that are useful only for a single party, for example, are only pushed by a single party, only valuable for a single party, because every change has a cost in complexity and maintenance work. So we do want to be open, but we don't want to make it a free-for-all in a sense. So in practice, what we're aiming for is that when we evaluate changes, we're trying to look at how widely useful will this be, how hard will this be to maintain, how hard will this change be to make, and especially community involvement in the discussion, in issues, is very much helpful in that. And a very good example is that various community members would like very much to have some backends added to state backends added to the Tofu CLI. The problem here is that, in a sense, each state backend, even if it's only used by, for example, 1% of the users, adds a very meaningful cost in both binary size and possibly stability and dependencies added to the project. So what we're aiming for as a more general solution that can be widely useful is actually backends as plugins. So people can build those pluggable backends and without having them in the core project. And this is how we see this kind of trade-off, I would say.
Kuba, since you're the technical lead, how do you currently see extensibility for OpenTofu? Like that's a topic that's really interesting.
Yeah, I think we should be aiming for making as much of the things in OpenTofu extensible as possible. So right now, as you know, it's providers and modules. Yep. In the future, as I've mentioned, we might be adding backends as plugins. This is something we're looking at because this is something that's very widely useful. People are using Tofu in various environments, so they want to use various state backends. And already with the existing backends, some of those are not that first-party supported, I would say. And ideally, such a situation would be very clear and transparent. Okay, this is a project I'm importing from a different provider than state backend provider than the core team. But other than that, we could be looking into extending Tofu with functions. Right now, we can already kind of approximate it with data sources. So this is an interesting discussion, whether explicit extensibility for functions is needed or not, but it's an interesting discussion topic. And there's also the topic of building tools on top of Tofu and opening the code base up. This is something we've heard a lot from community members, that community members would like to actually reuse some bits that we have in Tofu to build their own tooling. So they would like the packaging to be built with exported functions, with exported APIs that they can reuse. And this is, again, not something very easy, because if we promise, for example, that an API is stable, then we kind of tie our hands as far as any big refactors or rewrites go in that area. So you have to step very carefully and think about it. But those are very much areas that we want to explore and see where we get to.
Yeah. So there's someone else that. No, okay. I do think that's I do agree that that's like one of the best ways of having projects succeed is making them extensible enough that other people can build really cool things on top, and then provide value to the entire ecosystem that way. What are anything else that we missed that folks should look forward to in this tomorrow's release, or in 1.7, or things that are upcoming?
Can't think of anything myself. Christian?
Yeah, I think
the testing functionality that people are using alongside in Terraform 1.6 is fully available in OpenTofu as well.
For folks a little bit new to that, James, do you want to just kind of talk a little bit about what to expect, what it is, all that?
Yeah, so the idea behind the testing functionality, from what we can tell about how it was originally designed by HashiCorp and how we've continued to bring it into OpenTofu, it's designed to allow people to test a lot of internal modules that they may be using within their system. So it's ensuring that some of the Terraform that you're writing is valid Terraform that can be consumed by other people, maybe within your own department, or if you're a module author that's shipping things publicly, it's going to help you ensure that there's not as many bugs in your Terraform as you expected. There's some great extensive documentation that we've written on our OpenTofu website, and I really recommend people go through some of that. We've got a tutorial going step by step explaining all of the different ways you can test and all the different approaches you can take, because there's quite a few different approaches. But I feel like it's a great way to just like bolster that you're doing things right in OpenTofu when you're writing HCL and modules that are being published or used internally.
Yep. Yeah, thanks. I think that's pretty much it. Is there anything, any questions from the community? Anything that that we could answer? Otherwise, I will be uploading this as usual to YouTube, and then folks can join the Slack channel for any questions. And I think that's it. All right, everyone.
Awesome.
Thanks a lot thanks for joining. Thanks, Kuba, James, Christian. Thanks for your time, and let's rock tomorrow.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Cheers.
All right, take care. Cheers.